Pulled up beside him, blaring beside Merle. He said there's still some good in this world. He said that Hag was a poet for the common man. Got him through his tour in Vietnam. He was the first dance to a brown-eyed girl.
Hello, welcome to Telling It Like It Is. UGA Extension is Georgia's newest source for local, unbiased, research-based information about Georgia's number one industry, agriculture. Now, this year we are starting off season 2 of the podcast. So before we get going into it, I do want to say thank you for making the first year and first season of our podcast a success, being the listeners. I also want to give a shout out to all of our guest speakers that we've had on the podcast the past year. It's been great. I really am just thankful that there are those that are willing to be on here and share some information with y'all. And we also am just thankful that y'all are listening too. So that's good that we're getting our message out to our growers and our community members. So as we go into season 2, the best way that we thought we could really kick off the new year would be something that's timely, that kind of goes along with what's going on in our industry, in our state. And before I get to introducing our guest speaker, in our main part, which was actually interviewed on site live last week. So that part of the program actually is pre-taped there. So before today, but I want to kind of talk a little bit about January being Mental Wellness Month, and provide some of the resources that Savannah and I both have thought that this was a good topic to kind of bring up during this time of year. But it's UGA has really good resources for farm stress, for rural stress, for mental health, mental well-being, and I really just want to point some of those out and kind of give you a direction to go. I know this past year with being a farmer, I can only imagine how tough it's been, not just this past year, but the previous years. But this year in particular, our state's been hit by, 3 hurricanes, and, input prices are high, prices on the market are not great. So you combine all that together, and I can only imagine some of the stress that some of our growers in our state have had to feel this past year. And that's not just row croppers, that's specialty crop, that's foresters, there's so many crops and commodities that were impacted this past year in devastating ways. So I really just want to encourage you. January is a good month. We talk about resolutions and things starting fresh. It's a good month to start fresh from a mental standpoint. And we're here to provide resources for our growers, our folks in our communities. And if you go to discover.ces.uga.edu/farm-stress/, there's a really good website with some really good information on what UGA is doing to help with farm stress, as well as provide some options for resources. We have each year there is farm stress, a rural stress workshop, and it will be coming to Southeast District. So it'll be coming to a local area. It'll be in Bullitt County. Will be where it's going to be hosted. I do want to point that out. That will be in March, and let me pull up. It's going to be March 13th. So if y'all want to go ahead and mark your calendars for that, that's the Rural Stress Summit, or Farm Stress Summit is what it's called. This is a great opportunity to have other people in the field there to talk about some of the things that are going on, some of the ways that if you're, and I want to say that if you're not a grower, it's still okay to go to this Farm Stress Summit, because it's equipping tools and resources for those around us that are around farmers, around growers, to help them and help growers get through some tough times. But I do want to reiterate that this is a good time of year to take a step back and try your hardest to decompress, be with friends and family. Do not let the stress and woes of last year carry on into this year. And I know that's very tough to let go of, but like I said, this is Mental Wellness Month, and we do want to make sure that y'all have resources and have an opportunity to really to seek help if you need it. I do want to also put a plug in that your extension agents locally are very valuable as a resource for y'all, for any grower or anyone that's going through problems. Please reach out to your extension office, your agents, and just talk to them. They can get you in contact with some professionals, some resources. But also, agents are going through trainings now to be prepared and equipped to talk through things and have conversations when it's tough. Mental health first aid, QPR. These are really good certifications that agents are going through, because we do care about our growers and our communities. So please utilize that. Utilize these resources. They're extremely important. This is a great month to do it. And like I said, we want the most valuable asset on a farm is you. All right. And we really just want to continue to push that. So, like I said, that was the beginning of this. This is a little bit different than the main meat of the podcast, but I did want to spend a few minutes talking about that. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of switch gears and kind of let y'all in on our guest speaker, who's Justin Sheely. He's the Eccles County ag agent in Southwest Georgia, and he's been basically working with vegetables since he started his career. So I'll let you kind of judge for yourself, but I think y'all are in for a good treat.
You've been with Extension for how long?
17 years.
Yep, you're old. So well, let me phrase so I don't offend anybody on this. You're a seasoned veteran at this point, right?
Yep.
I know bringing you on, I wanted to meet with you today. We are in Savannah. We're at the Southeast Regional Fruit and Vegetable, I guess it's conference, right?
Yes.
Yep. It's a pretty incredible event, and you've been working with our fruit and vegetable for how long?
My entire career.
Okay.
I've been in a vegetable county the entire time.
Okay, so you've had an extensive amount of experience with vegetables and fruits. When did you start working with this conference?
In 2009. So I started in September of 2008 and started working with the conference in September of 2009.
Okay.
Not September of 2009, but in 2009.
Now, I guess I want to focus first on the actual conference a little bit. If you're listening and you have never been to the Southeast Fruit and Vegetable, it is incredible. I mean, if you're not a fruit and vegetable grower, you might not think about wanting to come, but it is actually truly an incredible event, full of education opportunities, full of growers. It's very well attended. How many do y'all normally have come?
About 3,000.
Okay, that's a lot of people. So tell me about how has this, since your time working with this conference, how has it evolved and really to try to address the industry needs as times have changed? 20 years ago, things were done a completely different way than now. So how has this conference and Fruit and Vegetable Council really tried to do their part to meet those evolutions?
Well, so I think first off, like you have, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Fruit and Vegetable Conference has always been, I'm going to say, a step above like your county production meetings.
Yep.
Because the Georgia Commodity Commission for Vegetables funds on-farm and on-station research to meet the needs of the growers. So those research findings are presented here. So in some circumstances, you might not hear a specialist discuss research findings until an agent calls saying that you have a problem.
Right.
Then we can talk about it. But in this case, all the research is talked about during the educational session. So you kind of get one step above production meetings.
Because you got educational sessions going on for all the fruit and vegetable commodities groups, but you also have this giant trade show, and
yes,
as a part of it too. So it is when you said a step above, I'm thinking that might be a big step above. But I totally see where you come from the educational side. I think it's really good that it breaks it down individually almost.
Right. Well, and something else like with the trade show, it's really neat. The trade show has grown every year, but the trade show is a really unique opportunity for you to meet your reps. You know, sometimes you might not necessarily know who I'm going to pick on Syngenta. I think they're a great company, but you don't always maybe know who your Syngenta rep is.
That's
maybe
right.
you know who your Triangle rep is, or your Helena or CPF Nutrient rep. But you might not necessarily know who your Syngenta or your Bayer rep is, but they're here,
Yep.
you know, so it gives you an opportunity to put a name with a face, to
Yep.
ask specific questions about products, even get literature on products that you
Oh, yeah.
you might already use, but, you know, that literature is just not readily available at the farm supply or wherever you get your stuff from. So, and then also with the trade show, you know, you got your bigger companies, but then you also have your not mom and pops, but your smaller retailers, your niche market guys,
Yep.
who you have an opportunity to meet with,
And
you
other
know.
farms. I mean,
Well,
just
yeah, and other
seeing
farms.
other farms in there that are offering a value-added product to something. I think that's super cool for
Yep.
for producers to see where they could take their own farm. I think that this conference, at the core, it really is grower focused and centered from every aspect. And I think, you know, there's other conferences we go to, like Beltwide. I'm going to this week. It's not tailored towards a grower necessarily.
No, it's
not
more
anymore.
research based,
Right,
Yeah.
and I think this one does a really good job of mixing the two together pretty well. The research side, the education, but also really making it about the grower.
Yeah.
I think that's incredible. Now, has Southeast Fruit and Vegetable? It is in Savannah this year. Is it always in Savannah?
Always.
Always in Savannah. How many states come?
Well, I mean, it's Southeast U.S. I'd say we probably have at least 8 or 9 states that participate by growers, vendors, industry reps that are industry partners that are coming to participate in it. Speakers, we at times we do have international speakers that will come in, but all the educational sessions are taught by university personnel from UGA or University of Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina will be a part of it. Also, in the past, we've had speakers from the EPA that would come in and USDA. So I mean, it kind of gives you again that one step above your local county county production needs.
I also think that's cool to give perspectives from other states, or it was just a breath of fresh air, kind of hearing other states what they're facing with the disease from the strawberries, the what's it called, the Nespa Palapatus, or
I can't pronounce
yeah, that thing. Strawberry disease, new. If you type that into Google, that's the disease we're talking about. It was cool to see. Other states are seeing it differently. Whether they're seeing it in the leaves or the crown of the plant, versus in Georgia we're seeing it in all those phases, but also in the fruit.
Right.
So it's a little different, but it gives a wide kind of just a view of what we're facing as an industry.
Well, here's an interesting point, or kind of a take on it, just something to think about. So, when you think about sweet potato production, you don't necessarily think about Georgia, you think about North Carolina. Sweet potatoes is a big deal in North Carolina. Obviously, it's a vegetable, and it's a great rotation with tobacco. That's where a lot of your farms have sweet potato and tobacco, and then cotton and peanuts in their rotation. There's a handful of sweet potato growers in Georgia. We have some fantastic specialists in our state who will always seek out the information that you need, whether it be labels or just product information. But what I will say is, a couple years ago, specialists from NC State come down. They were a part of the conference, and we had a whole sweet potato session. Wow. So that was a really big benefit for Georgia growers to go in and talk to, have the opportunity to meet, listen to specialists from North Carolina who deal with this commodity on a full-time basis, if you will.
No, I totally understand. Yeah, and I want to, if you all don't know how, because that's a good point. I want to make sure people understand. We are Extension, and we're here to help you on all the questions you have. Our universities don't always have the resource, like that person that's dedicated all the time to sweet potatoes here. It might not, because that's not our cash crop. So our specialists are geared towards what our state is really pushing. And I think that's just worth noting, because I know sometimes it's easy to be like, well, why does Clemson have a specialist and we don't have one yet, or something like that. But just throwing that out there, that's kind of how something for if you were wondering why, that could be it. A lot of times it matches what the state's trying to produce heavily. Now I want to switch gears from the conference side. And I want to talk more of just industry, because you've had an extensive amount of time working with growers and producers in the vegetable and small fruit world. We talk about row crops all the time, and we've talked about them on the podcast a lot. We've talked about the challenges, but a specialty crop is a different ballgame. So what are some of the major challenges facing this industry now?
So I think from an extension standpoint, we use the term low-hanging fruit. I think labor is definitely, not to put it lightly, I mean, labor is definitely a tremendous impact on the specialty crop world.
Right.
But it's one that's going to come to a head eventually. We need to see labor rates, not trying to get political, we need to see, kind of get a little bit more in check, in hand. Commodity prices, always fluctuate depending on when your product's coming in, somebody else coming in and out of the market. New insects, new diseases, new weeds. I mean, there's always something coming. But to me, and this is going to sound crazy, and I don't want anybody to think I'm being sarcastic or trying to be funny, but to me, it's the what if, or excuse me, the what's next.
Yeah.
When you think about farming as a whole, specialty crop is no different from conventional row crops.
Yep.
All right. If you'd have asked me 15 years ago, did I know what a pepper weevil was? I would have told you no.
Yeah.
Would never heard of it, never seen one, never knew it to be a problem. But primarily, they were in South Florida and in Mexico. I didn't know anything about them. Same thing could be said for if you back up 20 years ago, we never thought there'd be a need for anything besides methyl bromide. But then one day, we lose it. We knew it was coming, but then you lose it, and now you got to start with all these different fumigants, and you got to figure out what works best for you on your farm.
Yep.
So I think it's the what's next. We've had, depending on where you are in the state listening to this, I mean, we've had essentially 3 hurricanes in the last 13 months.
Yep.
So obviously weather is a big big factor in there. But I think it's the what's next. What insect or what disease or what market topsy-turvy is going to happen to throw a monkey wrench into it. So I can't really, I will say weather, labor, markets, obviously.
From what basically the way I'm thinking, from what you're saying, it's the uncontrollables. It's the stuff that you really can't do anything about. Really, yeah. I mean they can, but to a certain extent. But it's kind of out of their hands. They have to deal with whatever's going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got to. Well, the thing about specialty crops is that you got to remember. I mean, within reason, cotton, you can put it in the warehouse. You don't have to sell it right then.
That's right.
Peanuts, you can put it in the loan. You don't have to sell it right then. You can get a little money up front. No, when pepper or squash or eggplant is ready to be picked, it's going in the cooler, and it's got to go somewhere, or you're not getting paid. So it's this fast-paced, high risk, high reward, but high risk, high chances of something going wrong.
It's like the way I look at working with vegetables and fruits, it's like the Wall Street version of for ag, because it's so busy, it's always constant moving. There's always something, and if you don't pull the trigger, then you don't get paid. If you don't get the crop out, you don't get paid. It's not something you can do, like you said, and do with the cotton and the peanuts. So it is more of like that risk reward aspect is higher. Do you think that does that play some into like stress levels of specialty crop growers?
Oh, I think it has to. I mean, because you take a conventional row crop guide and you sit there and go, okay, well, I'm getting ready to plant. It's the 10th of May, and I'm looking at the cotton futures, and the market says in October or December, depending on when you sell, cotton 69 cents. You kind of know what you're getting and going into it. Your brokers at these packing sheds, they're constantly talking to their people about, what's market prices, but until they go to sell a load, there's no guarantee. Another good example would be, say, with like cotton or peanuts. Obviously we want, the right level of micronair and staple in cotton. We all want Seg 1 peanuts. But even at Seg 2, I know I'm getting something for them. I'm not saying I'm proud of Seg 2 peanuts. I'm just saying we know we're getting something for them.
That's right.
Something people don't think about with specialty crop is, we pack it, we pick it in the field, it goes to the shed, everything's done 100% to the best of the grower's ability, done right by all standards. but for whatever reason, that truck could get to, and I'm picking on an imaginary, location, insert name here, the load could get rejected.
Yep.
So the dollar amount of that produce has got to be disposed of, got to find another outlet for it. It's not as simple as just dropping off a semi at the buying point or having a modular truck come get your cotton. And that's not to take away anything from row crops. It's just a different world. And I think those that are in it really do know how to play it. Not play it. They really do know how the system works. They know how to work it well. And same as guys with traditional row crops. You know what works for you. You know how to manage your time, how to manage your inputs, how to manage your resources, how to manage your crop at the end of the day. So
now, I don't want to cut off your thought process, but I know from hearing you talk, there's some of your guys that do vegetables and row crop together, right?
We will grow some row crop. So I have vegetable guys, and then I have row crop guys.
Do they ever overlap?
I have one or two that will kind of nibble their feet in the water on row crops, and I say that it's you got to put land back in perspective.
Yep.
So especially crop guys, we're drip tape. Yep. I got a couple of them. Right. I have a couple good growers who do have some pivots on land that also do have drip tape. So when we do want to rotate out for weed management or just let land do something different, we'll go in, we'll put some corn, soybeans, something like that to kind of break up the rotation a little bit. Instead of just letting it lay fallow, we can put something on it that'll benefit the land. But like I said, it's only on the land, on the dirt that we really that we have the option for a pivot.
Okay. And now with that overhead irrigation, how hard? I mean, what crops are there certain vegetable fruit crops that you would want to put under a pivot field?
I mean, you can. Watermelons is probably the most common one.
Yep.
Watermelons and cantaloupe is probably Georgia's most common one under a pivot. You can do leafy greens really. Unless you're doing leafy greens on plastic, the only way to do leafy greens is with a pivot. Mm-hmm. So I would say Georgia's leafy green industry is probably 70-80% overhead irrigation.
Okay.
Your seeded, onions is another one that's seeded, obviously.
Yep.
Your seeded varieties of like squash and cucumbers, there are some that's done with overhead. But when you run overhead on like cucurbits, you run the risk of higher disease incidence with splashing and spores and all moving through the splashing of overhead. Mm-hmm. But that's really it. Bell pepper, eggplant, no. It's too cumbersome. One for disease, but also it's too cumbersome when you have to think about staking and mule trains and all that.
I guess your growers do that. So if they're not doing row crop and vegetable together in their operation, are they just rotating who's managing the fields and to help with that kind of like that lull and do they ever? I guess my question would be do they ever work together to make sure there is that fallow period or that time, not fallow, but the break from vegetables to make sure their land that value, what I'm talking about?
So we'll typically 3 crops through a laying of plastic.
Yep.
Then what you would consider that 4th growing season or that 4th crop, we'll lay it out. It'll be in a cover crop.
Gotcha. Okay.
We'll plant brown top millet or something like rye, to add organic matter back to the soil and fertilize accordingly, put out lime, so forth and so on. And then it just lays idle or fallow, until we're ready to lay plastic on it again the following season.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, sorry it took for me a while to come out with that question. I do want to put out a PSA. Justin did mention about the cotton price. We do no way, shape, or form endorse that is a good price. We do wish that cotton price is better.
Yeah, dollar
going forward. Okay, so I got a few more here I want to hit you with. All right. What are the most, I guess, what's the latest innovations that's coming out for this industry? Because we talk about all this stuff with EPA and regulations and things like that, or even with labor. What are some innovations that we're trying to do in this industry to kind of help alleviate some of that?
Well, I think everybody wants to go to AI or drone technology, robots. There is a place for them. I think there's a place for them now. There's a place for them in time to come, obviously. But I think some of the biggest innovations right now is some of the work we've been doing with Dr. Angelos on packing sheds.
Okay.
on how we're doing cooling. You know, the airflow size on the boxes.
Yeah.
How fast can we cool? You know, what's the temperature of produce coming in from the field before we put it in the forced air cooler? How long is it staying? Are we reaching optimal temperature before we put it into permanent cold storage? It's been really interesting. We've come to see that we could be doing a better job. We're doing everything standard like the way the industry requires us to, but there's always room for improvement, and that's one of the ways we found is, hey, there is some other stuff we could be doing to mitigate heat in forced air cooling and cool down this produce a little bit faster.
That's pretty cool. Are there other research projects that you're working on personally that you're just like passionate about? You're like, wow, this is going to be some cool stuff.
Not nothing at, like right this second. Right now, I still do a good bit of disease work, disease resistance in pepper and squash and eggplant. But some of the stuff, kind of something else, a couple of things that we've done in the past, and I'll put a plug in for it for people that are listening and who hopefully utilize their extension agents, is the fumigant meters.
Oh yeah.
That started out as a research proposal through Fruit and Vegetable. They funded it. I think we have about 12 meters scattered across both districts.
Yep.
Your vegetable producing areas. And what it's been able to do, I mean, the fact that it's, you always follow the label. If it says 21 days for tell-on before planting or re-entry, then you abide by the label by all means. But the whole way of going about it, kind of looking at a calendar and saying, okay, well, I laid it on this day. These are my days. Let's, not saying anybody ever done this, but let's go out there and poke a hole in the plastic and stick our nose down there to it and see if we can still smell it.
Yeah.
Obviously definitely trying to take a safer approach.
We've come a long way.
We've come a long way, but with these fumigant meters, I mean, they definitely allow you the ability to go out there and say, okay, it's 21, 22 days. I followed the label. I'm within my restrictions. Is it safe to plant? And if it is, okay, well, I might be a week or 2 weeks ahead of what that calendar was years ago, if that makes sense. So, hey, I can get my crop in a little bit earlier. Maybe I can catch the tail end of a market. Might have to take the lower price, but I can catch the tail end of a market. But then when my market hits, I'm at full production of my plants.
Yeah.
So I think that's had a really big impact on like bell pepper, for example.
Well, how many? For people that don't know, what crops do you utilize the fumigation for the most part? Are they all of them?
Well, for the most part, we utilize it in bell pepper because that's where we're laying the new plastic.
Yep.
Okay, but with the fumigant meters, you're like your tell-on EC where you run it through the drip. We can still go out after that application, 21 days or 21 or 20. I got to go back and look at the label. 21 or 28 days, and we can determine if the tell-on is still there, and if whether or not you're going to have any damage when you're ready to plant.
See, kids, you just heard a county agent say they checked the label. I just want to throw that back out there. All right, check your labels.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to finish. I got two last questions, but one's a big one, and then one's kind of just a fun one. You talked about how the fruit and vegetable growers that are in it that you've worked with, they've kind of adapted. They've learned how to work the system. They know how to do this, right? How hard? What would your advice be for a person trying to get into the fruit and vegetable industry? Because I've got some guys they got row crop, but they're with our land going away the way it is. They're kind of trying to utilize the land they own for more of a specialty crop, and it's had challenges, to enter the market.
Yeah.
So how hard is it, and what are ways that can help growers that are trying to do that?
So I don't ever want to discourage anybody from trying to get into specialty crops. I think it's a wonderful world to be in. Obviously, high risk, high reward, a lot of stress. But I think if I had any advice for anybody, it would be find somebody who's already currently doing it and doing it well. Somebody who has a really long track record of success in the industry. Talk to them. Mm-hmm. I think we used to say the vegetable industry is pretty secretive as far as trying to figure out the word to use.
Maybe reserved. Would reserved be better?
Yeah, secretive, reserved, but on your techniques. I mean, if you found something that worked for you, you kind of kept it because the thing about produce is you got to remember it's not like cotton and peanuts. There's not a contract. There's not a board, that you're going to trade on. You're not going to look at it and say, okay, well, I'm getting $4 from my corn or $1 from my cotton. It's what the broker and the market dictates at that point in time. So you just kind of those little production secrets people try to hang on to, kind of give them the edge, which is understandable. I think we'd all be that way.
It's a more competitive kind of field.
It is. It's a more competitive side of the ag industry.
Yep, that's right.
But I think find somebody who knows, who's doing it and doing it well. Talk to them, pick their brain, and listen. And to steal a phrase from my granddaddy, I would say nibble your toes in the water. You have to be willing to make that leap, because pepper, like for bell pepper, for example, before we ever put a worker in the field to harvest, our budget showed that we're about $10,000 an acre. And if you want to put that in perspective of cotton or peanuts, you could grow 20 acres of peanuts, 30 acres of peanuts for that same 1 acre of bell pepper. But at the same time, peanuts, hopefully you get $1,600 an acre return. Yep. Hopefully, bell pepper, you could, I ain't gonna say you could double your money, but you get back more than $600-800.
Yep.
On good years. Now, on bad years, you could definitely lose every bit of that, 100% of what you put in, and no profit.
High risk. High reward.
But I think find somebody, talk to them, nibble your toes in the water, and then find what you can do well. I think that's the other biggest thing, is find, maybe you're a better cucurbit grower than you are a pepper grower. Maybe you're better at leafy greens. If you're a row crop guy trying to look into it, utilize the equipment that you have. And I say, look at leafy greens. You can use pivots.
Yep.
You can utilize your pivots.
Yep.
You can utilize a lot of your row crop equipment for leafy greens.
And that's kind of what the grower in my county has kind of done, and I think it's very smart. They turned the acres they own into almost paddocks or blocks, and they tried different crops. They tried different varieties. They just tried to figure out what worked for them, and without going full in, because it is such a high risk, high reward. So they didn't want to do that, and I think it's worked out well. They've learned what they're going to focus on going forward. They tried the U-pick side a little bit too, and they realized it might not be right for them. Right. So, but I do think you're right. Just trying a few different things, being smart with it. And then you mentioned getting somebody that's been in it. I know in Effingham, where I'm at, they're the only ones. So they would need to get to talking to somebody in another county. And if you're out there and you're wanting to go into to try to do some specialty crops, call your county agent and see if they have contacts in another county that might be a more vegetable county, and just to get the grower to another grower, not so much to another agent or anything like that, but just a connection. I think that's a big piece to really help anybody, not just in specialty crops, but any farmer out there. You really want to make sure you're connected. So if you're the only one of your type in your county, talk to your agent and get them in contact with somebody, into some of the farmers in other counties that produce more of it.
That's right.
All right, my last thing is a fun one. I just want to know, because you've been working so much with fruits and vegetables your career, what's your favorite crop to work with?
I'd say bell pepper.
Why?
Well, because to me, bell pepper is a clean slate.
Okay.
Like when we start on bell pepper, it's clean fields, it's new plastic, it's new fumigation. It's obviously our higher risk crop, but it's, I don't know, it's just one that's kind of more fun, because it is like a clean slate. You can't really compare it to row crops, but it is almost kind of like a row crop situation where I've got a clean bedded field, or you can start new if that makes sense. I don't know, it's just a fun one to deal with.
Do your growers like that crop a lot more too?
Well, it is our main crop.
Okay,
it is. And I'll tell you this: like pepper is for us. Pepper is our foundation.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because of the return on investment with bell pepper, that is the one that we will spend the money on for plastic. Obviously, we're prorating this over the next year and a half, but you still got, you ain't prorating paying your bills, but you're prorating that investment, I guess. But you will. That's where you start fresh. New plastic, new fumigant, new everything, and everything. Your crops after you harvest your pepper all depend and really are determined on how good of a job you did maintaining your fields with the pepper. Because like I said, we'll come back and plant squash, and then we'll come back and do eggplant again after that most times. So it's just that fresh start right off the bat. I don't know, just fun crop to deal with.
Well, Justin, I appreciate your insight and sharing some of your experience, your expertise, and telling us a little bit about fruit and vegetable. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
No, I just want to say appreciate the opportunity to be on the podcast and wish all your growers listening to it the best of luck in 2025. And if you have any desire to be in the vegetable industry or learn more about it, I would definitely recommend coming in 2026 to the Fruit and Vegetable Conference.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Justin.
Justin, we certainly want to thank you for everything you do for Extension, as well as the younger agents like myself. For those of you who don't know, he has a wealth of knowledge in vegetables and in row crops, and is certainly willing to help in any way he can. So thank you for that. We are going to talk a little bit about some upcoming events that we have going on with the University of Georgia and some of our commodity commissions. This time of year kind of picks up and gets everything started. I do want to point out that this time of year we start having our row crop production meetings. And so you want to contact your local county office to find out what days those are. That's where our state specialists come in and talk about the different agronomic practices, economics, a wide variety of information in regard to our row crop production. So make sure you're talking to your county agent and your county office to find out when those meetings are so that you can attend. A couple things that are going on past that, we've got our beef cattle winter webinar series. That's with some of our state specialists. Those are on January the 13th, which was extended hay supplies. There was a great meeting if you missed out. January the 27th, they'll talk about optimizing fertility. And then February the 3rd, we'll talk about incorporating EPDs into our beef cattle operations. And those are all webinar series, so you can watch them from home. And those are Mondays at 7. Then we have our Peanut Farm Show in Tifton with the Georgia Peanut Commission. It's at the Tifton Conference Center on January the 16th. Tuesdays in January through March, we have Master Cattlemen's Program. That is in Sumter County this year, but there is a virtual option. So if you're interested in that, we can certainly get you that information. You have the Georgia Corn Short Course. That's January the 21st at the Tifton Conference Center. A little more local, we have the So You Want to Be a Beekeeper, and that is either virtual or in person at the Burke County Extension Office. And we've got some of our local Southeast District County Extension agents hosting that, Cliff Collins, Blake Carter, and MC Hallbrook. So if you want to be a beekeeper, that's a great starting series to try to help you figure some things out. On January the 24th, we have the Georgia Ag Forecast in Tifton. That's always a good economic outlook meeting if you're interested in that. Again, we can get you the information. All of these dates are going to be on our Facebook page, Tilling It Like It Is, as well as our website, tillingitlikeitis.uga.edu. We've got the Georgia Cotton Commission meeting in Tifton on January the 29th. And then the Georgia Conservation Tillage meeting is February the 18th and 19th. And again, make sure you're talking to your local offices about what's going on. And we certainly appreciate you guys, and we look forward to seeing what the new year holds. If you have questions, you can certainly get with either me or Blake, and we can direct you in the right way. So you guys have a great day, and thank you.
He was the first dance to a brown-eyed girl, and there was still some good in this world.